Thank you for tuning in to the Untouchable Jessica Joan podcast. I'm Jessica Joan, and this is the safe space where we talk about the real stuff that no one's really talking about. So we're going to be diving into courage, clarity, and getting over shit. Because I know you got shit, we all got shit, and we need to get over it. So thank you for joining me on this ride. Here we go. Maui rain. I want to listen to the rain falling over fallen leaves of silent trees, breathing them in as if my life depended on it, because once again, everything made sense. All right, welcome back, everyone. I'm so excited for this episode because I'm going to tell you all about this moment that just happened right now. So literally, I'm here talking to my mentor, talking with Miss Colleen, and I'm having a little anxiety about, okay, what am I going to tell about this next episode, which is about truth. Little spoiler alert. And, I'm like, the truth is so big. Like, which part of my truth am I sharing? I'm literally getting all up in my head, overthinking this whole thing, a tendency that I'm constantly getting better at. So anyways, my mentor, who loves looking at words, which I do too, something we share, she pulls out the dictionary, and I kid you not, oh my God, I'm freaking out because I'm so excited right now. And so we look up the definition of trust. She hands me the book, and I'm literally looking at this right now, you guys. I will post a picture on the Instagram, the Untouchable Jessica Joan podcast Instagram, so you can see this, because literally this is how the universe works. Remember, we're talking about alignment, divine timing, and also let's just sprinkle in some synchronicity. So anyways, pull up this book, go into trust, and literally on top of the page, right before trust, it says 777. So if you know me, I have a thing about numbers, especially repeating numbers, the universe talking to me in that way, crazy things. Anyways, I'm so excited and hyped about this. But here we go. Truth. I'm sorry, not truth. Trust. Oh my God. It's so funny. Trust. I was supposed to look up truth, not trust. But it's like two things. It's like trusting myself to tell the truth. So you see how the universe just like layers on these gems? I'm looking for one thing, I'm seeing another thing, and then there's more goodies. So here we go. So this episode is obviously going to be about truth and trust. So here we go. So let's start with trust. To place confidence, depend, to be confident, hope, entrust, to permit to stay or go, to do something without fear or misgivings. And now my original thing, which was truth. Truthfulness, honesty, the real state of things. Fact, the body of real events or facts. A true or accepted statement or proposition. An agreement with fact or reality. So literally having a whole conniption and what the universe is telling me. Trust in my truth. So here we go. So this is a really important episode for me to share because it's the whole point of why am I even doing this? I've touched on it a little bit and gave little tidbits into me, but the whole thing for me and why this is important for my experience and my journey is that I'm finally in a space where I'm able to fully trust myself to be in my truth. It wasn't always like this. It was actually quite opposite. With my parents and with getting adopted by my grandparents and growing up in the way that I did, which I talk about in the first episode, I literally had to live a double life. And what I mean by that is after the SWAT team came to my house, my mom had already left when I was around 5. I was really just navigating this whole crazy experience. And my grandparents adopted me and my siblings. And then I started school at this new school in Tustin Ranch. And I felt a bit like a black sheep. Obviously going through a very unorthodox upbringing, not having your parents be there for you, having a very distant and strained and heartbroken relationship with my mom, it was really difficult, especially because the school that I went to in 7th grade was like a really like posh, nice school, and my experience was opposite of that. So anyways, I go to this school and I can't tell my truth. Like, what kind of 7th grader can explain to their other 7th grade friends, oh yeah, by the way, my parents are drug dealers, my mom left, and that's why I'm living with my grandparents. Like, they wouldn't understand that. I didn't even understand how to explain that. I just knew that the way my life was unorthodox and very complicated, and that I couldn't share that truth. Instinctively, I just knew that I couldn't. Also, my grandma, she's old school Filipino. She's very private. We keep our business to ourselves kind of thing. So there was no room for me to express how I was really feeling, let alone being a 7th grader, just went through several traumatic experiences, not knowing what the heck is going on. So this is how I learned how to survive. And I went to over 10 different schools and moved around a lot, prior to getting adopted by my grandparents. So I was constantly putting on this role. I was constantly needing to read the room because, as a little kid, I mean, even just in society, you want to be accepted. You don't want to be left out. You don't want to be picked last. And luckily, I had the wherewithal to develop these skills. They really saved me and got me through life, even when I finally moved to LA, and even to getting to this place now. It's just I have this keen sense of awareness that I had to develop through survival. So now, for the first time in my life, I get to really live my truth. And not even just in my life, which I do and I practice, and it's still a constant practice to be myself, be my true self, because there's all these outside factors, and in my journey, I've had to shed so many skins like a snake, so many parts of myself that were important, that helped me survive, and defense mechanisms that no longer serve me. And even, growing up in LA in the way that I did, I basically pieced out of OC when I was 16. I was on my own. I had a job. I was making my own money, being self-sufficient, figuring things out, very resourceful. And I was just figuring out who I was, but it was coming from a place of hurt, of trauma, of pain, of survival, not having any support, no one to talk to because I didn't feel like anyone would understand. Even with my grandma, who I love so much, and I'm so grateful for her, my Mama Pie, who raised me and, showed us so much love, there's no way I could explain to her how I was feeling. I actually tried to when I told her I first needed therapy. And, she's like, that's for crazy people. So yeah, it was really difficult growing up in a world where I couldn't express myself. And I really started to make that transformation as I started to be an artist and understand that about myself. That's why poetry is so important to me, because that's how I was able to tap into my feelings, because I couldn't share it anywhere else. So it was just me, my notebook, and my pen, and a lot of tears, and all my feelings on the page. And so when I moved to LA, which I did when I was like 18, and, I got thrusted into the a little Hollywood socialite kind of life, and nightclubs, dating nightclub owners, and, having that whole experience, which was really fun. But it had its own shadows in that, and my own lessons to learn within that. But I started to really want to be an actor. And it actually started because I read this book by Ivana Chubbuck called The Power of the Actor. Wait, is The Power of the Actor? It's the Ivana Chubbuck book. And a friend had given it to me. And at the time, I was hanging out with girls that were actresses, quote unquote. But really, I didn't know this. I was coming from Orange County. They were really hot, like party girls, and using acting, quote unquote, as like the facade. But they weren't really serious. They weren't really artists. And so I got caught up in that whole mix and, trying to figure myself out, which was really running away from my traumas, which was really repressing my feelings, which was really, me being present to where I was. I don't have any judgment on that part of my life and the things that I did and the many experiences that, I definitely squinted really hard at and flinched when I had to do my own unearthing of that, because it made me who I am. And accepting all of these parts of myself and all of these experiences and, people would call regrets and mistakes, like I embrace them because it's made me who I am. I had to learn from all of these things, like even with the Nexium thing, which, well, stay along with me on the podcast. We'll dive in more of that. So now I have this chance to share my truth. And when I was diving into my acting and finally met an acting coach who was a serious acting coach and was all about the truth, I started to realize that I had all these anxieties, partly from being sexually abused from my uncle, which, I ended up dealing with that. We'll dive more into that. And I just realized that in my art, which is so important to me, which expressing myself is so important to me, not for anything other than just to really feel alive and to really feel like living in my truth, I wasn't able to do that. I didn't have the capacity. I'd go to these classes and, I'd have some breakthroughs of really being in my truth, but it was so painful for me that I couldn't. Like the fact that I could even say, oh yeah, I've been sexually abused before. It's hard. It's heavy. It's not a fun thing. Like I'm sure, some of you guys listening are like, ooh, but it's the truth. And, I never thought I would say this, but I am grateful for that experience, not because it felt good, not because I deserved it, especially being a young kid, but it has given me the strength to overcome these depths of pain, overcome so much hardship and within myself and, lack of self-worth and being insecure and having anxiety to even having insomnia, to getting to this place of doing the work, really working through this and finding the light at the end of the tunnel, finding the light and then standing in that light. And that's what I'm doing right now. And I don't have to share any of my truth. I didn't have to do this. This is all on my own doing because it's what's important to me, is to share my story, to help other people, to help give them permission as I give myself permission to be honest, to love myself in spite of all these things where, it might be frowned upon or judged. Like, fuck that. These experiences made me who I am, just like your experiences make you who you are. And the more that you embrace your truth and live in that and feel that, and honestly, like your little self, inner child work is so pivotal and so important. But to hug the little you, that's what I've done. It's just, I'm still doing this work every day. I am working on myself to be the greatest version of myself. It is a process. And if you're not growing, you're dying. And I love living. I love being fully alive, being fully immersed in life, which is why my journey has taken me on all of these rides and these experiences. And that's what I'm hoping to impart in you, to just be brave, be courageous, because we only have one life. And if we're not living our truth and we're just playing small, we're not doing anyone any favors. especially ourselves. So this is why sharing my truth is so important. And as I'm even sharing this with you right now, it's a cathartic part of my own healing process to really own this, to really, just I'm bearing my soul with you. And so, yeah, here I am. I'm feeling really bold and confident right now, but it took a lot to get here, even to just know that I needed to relaunch this podcast. And I mean, not like need, but that it was is a tool to help me share more of myself, to help me live in my purpose, to help me help those that might relate to this. Because it's hard, and for a long time I felt so alone, and there's still a lot of times where I feel really alone. The work isn't just a one and done. It's a process. It's a journey. It's an unearthing. It's a reckoning. And it starts with being honest with yourself and owning your truth. Owning all of the parts of you, all of the scary parts, all of the mean parts, all of the ugly parts, as well as embracing all of the joyful parts that you might have lost. Like, I didn't have a childhood, like a little bit, like with my cousins, we had some fun times and played outside, but for the most part, I didn't. And even today, I'm finally freeing myself to not be so serious. Like, I am a really serious person. Like, I like to get down to business and brass tacks, like, let's go. It's also a little bit of the warrior aspect of me. But just today, like, recording this podcast and the time in between with my team, embrace your cape, and being silly and making funny voices, whereas before I judged myself so harshly because I was stuck in this vibration of survival, of just, when you're in survival mode, which it's coming from a place of lack, of scarcity, and like justifiably so. But me transmuting that and having faith in myself and believing in myself, and I have a lot of amazing friends who love me and support me and who like, you're gonna be something, whatever this means, right? I'm not trying to have an ego trip, but thank you, Brookie. And it reminds me why I'm doing this, why I'm sharing my truth, because I know there's a little girl out there, a little boy or a woman who's felt alone, who's felt left, abandoned, vulnerable. And I just hope that me doing this, inspires some light, inspires some courage, because it's hard. And there are a lot of people that I meet, they say, oh, wow, what you're doing is really brave. And I think, yeah, I guess so. I don't know. I live really in the moment and really present, and I'm so purpose-oriented that I just wouldn't have it any other way. Even when it comes to the whole NXIVM thing, technically, did I have to help the FBI? Technically, did I have to share my story with people while they're still in it? These are like little spoiler alerts, more in the book. No, I didn't. I had a choice, but the thing is, for me, I didn't have a choice. There is no other way than to do the right thing. Have I done things that were shitty? Have I broken hearts? Have I been not in my highest light? 100%. But it doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, I know who I am. I know the goodness within me. I know why I'm here. And I hope you go on this journey with yourself to figure out what that is. Because once you live in your truth, which is so hard to do, like, I totally don't blame you if it like takes you forever, if you don't even do it in this lifetime. But once you do, I promise you the rewards are infinite. To just feel the joy within yourself that is your God-given right, to just own all these parts and get back to a place of love that is true, because it starts with loving yourself. And my mentor could tell you, as much work as I did when I showed up to her door and started really diving even deeper into the work, I realized there was so much self-hatred and not feeling enough and feeling like an imposter syndrome even. But now I'm on the other side of that. I know what I deserve. I know what I've earned. I know who I am. And this is why it's important to live my truth and to share it with you, because it's not a cocky, arrogant thing. And people will say, oh, wow, you're so full of yourself. Guess what? I am full of myself because I'm full of light. I am full of love. And I have been through the depths of hell and climbed out of there. And I'm in this place where I can look in the mirror and say, I love you. You are amazing. And you know what? We should all be able to do that. Why has this world or things have happened to where we don't feel like we could do that, or we don't feel enough, or we feel shitty? I mean, it's part of the experience. It's part of the lessons that we're supposed to learn. But when you embrace your truth and get to that space and forgive yourself, that's how you're going to be happy. It's not in a boyfriend. It's not in a girlfriend. It's not in an Oscar. It's not in anything outside of yourself. It's just walking in your feet as you. All of your truths, all of your scars, all of your pains, all of the things. So I'm putting myself out there in a really big way to give permission to myself and hopefully allow you guys to feel like you can do it too. There's naysayers, there's haters. Who cares? They're irrelevant because it's not about them. It's not about your parents. It's not about your friends. It's not about your teacher or your kindergarten class, which, okay, with kids, we're setting examples. It's a different thing. But to be in your truth, I think, is to really live in your highest, to really show up fully living your life. Because anything else is fake and a fraud. And I've been there. I'm sure we've all been there. Most of us are still walking there. But you're not really living. So this is me, bearing my soul, letting you know why I'm here, why I'm sharing through this podcast, through my book. Because it's just my truth. So I hope it helps you. I'm doing this for you. And now I'm doing it also for the little Jess inside who never really got to say how she felt, who never really got to dance around and smile in the way that she deserves. So I'm doing it for her, and I'm doing it for you. So now I want to invite you to do something for yourself. I invite you to sit with the little you and tell her, him, or they, tell them the truth. Tell them how you felt growing up. Tell them all of your secrets and your pain and your hopes and dreams. And then I want you to tell them that you love them. So that's it for today. Thank you for joining. Thank you for listening. And I'll see you real soon.